Hi there, this is Jennifer. Welcome to Crafting in Carrollville. I'm glad you're here today. If you're new, please subscribe. If you're a regular watcher, thanks so much for coming back. These are some of the projects we're going to be working on today. I'm still, believe it or not, going through my stash here. I'm going to start with that big enamel pot that was holding all of my rolling pins and my wood utensils. As you can see, I have a surplus of those, and those are just about half of what I've got. I also gave a ton of them away when I purged my workshop a few months back. I'm just sticking a transfer on here. It's as simple as that. I just want it to look pretty and decorative because it's going to hold some of my kitchen items that I'm taking to our shows in September and October. These are transfers that I got from Amazon. Don't buy them. They're awful. Two things I hate about them. They're shiny, which that's an easy problem to fix because anything that has a shine to it that you don't want, you can just spray it with matte spray finish and it works like a charm. I use the Rust-Oleum 2X matte finish spray and I love it. And the other thing I hate about these transfers is they really only stick to metal. Like, I've tried them on a bunch of different surfaces. Ceramic would probably be another thing that they would stick to, but they're just they're terrible. You're going to see as this video progresses because I'm going to use some more of these types of transfers from Amazon. But in general, like, don't buy them unless you want to use them on metal. That would be my advice. Anyway, so I'm going to work on these two flour sifters first. We're making kitchen decor today, and basically we're going to make 3 cohesive sets of a sifter, a rolling pin, and a few wooden spoons. So I thought that would be super fun, and this is just helping me again work through my stash, get rid of all those things that have been sitting in my workshop, you know, mean to do projects or when I get to it projects, and today's the day I got to it. Now, I'm making 3 different sets and they're all going to be different colors, different themes. So I'm starting with this color of beige that it was actually an Oops paint that I picked up at Home Depot. You can buy their little containers of Oops paint, the samples, for 50 cents. When they have them over there. But this particular one, I really like this color. So later on today, I have to make a trip to Home Depot and I'm going to get myself some paint. The second one that I'm working on here is called Foggy. This is a folk art paint. It's a chalk paint. Still takes a couple of coats to cover all that metal. At first I had this idea that I was just going to paint the center parts of these sifters and leave the rims and the handles, but honestly they weren't that aged great patina that we all love, so I decided just to paint over them. And the clip that you see on one of my sifters there is holding some fix-all glue. The handle, the solder came loose, so I'm just fixing it with some fix-all glue. And I have that clip there holding it till it dries. So that's what I've done there. These do, like I said, take a couple, maybe 3 coats of paint to really cover everything. And then about halfway through the painting process, I decide that I'm just going to cover all of them, inside, out, handles, everything. Now I'm doing the same treatment on my rolling pins here. I'm using that foggy color for one, the beige color on another, and then also I come in with a dusty rose color for yet another one. And I haven't gotten to that sifter yet because in real time I haven't found that sifter yet. I knew I had more stashed away, and the funny thing is they were not stashed away. They were right on an open shelf where I could have seen them if my eyes had fallen on them at any time, but I didn't find them until I searched earnestly for them right while they were in plain sight. Takes a couple coats of that paint as well to cover the wood. If you've never painted rolling pins, they're pretty easy to do because the elements are all sort of separated, so you can get your paintbrush in there. Now here's that dusty rose color, and I'm going to put a transfer on this. This is again one of those transfers that I got off Amazon that are super cheap. They are much different than, let's say, the Redesigned by Prima transfers or the IOD transfers. I can't think of, hey, guess what? They're even different than the Dollar Tree transfers. Even the Dollar Tree transfers are better than what I'm doing here. But I eventually stick the heat gun on it, and that really helps shrivel up that plastic paper, and then when you let it cool, the transfer sticks much better. So that's what I ended up doing here. I had used that trick before with these transfers, but never again. I'm not buying any more of these. As soon as they're done and out of my stash, I am done with those transfers. They've been really bad. So yeah, not using those again. But eventually, you know, they're pretty enough. They really are. The images are beautiful, but the quality is just not there. Another thing, they're very raised. They're not near as thin as a regular, you know, good quality transfer. And like I said, they're also shiny, but that's super fixable. Like, that's not a problem at all. In a lot of the projects that we make, we like to give it a matte finish, and that's really the best way. I'm just taking my finger sander here, and I am distressing that back a little bit. I'm also removing some of the shine that I don't like, but you'll see in my reveal photos that shine definitely gets covered by a nice matte finish. Yeah, so I'm distressing the handles a little bit as well. I really love these projects. This was one of those days where I just came out here and thought about the next project. As I was working on one project, I've added my transfers to this rolling pin already. This is the one with the tan handles. I've already added my main transfer, and I'm going to come back in and add just some random pieces where I think they need to go. And for some reason, these particular ones stuck really well. I didn't have any problems with these transfers. I thought maybe it was the paint I used, you know, whatever, but it just seemed to be so random. And when it did go well, I tried not to question it. I just moved on as fast as I could. Like, I love to use those little stylus tools from the Dollar Tree. They have a super sharp little point, and they really help lift things from their backing. And then also, in a pinch, they'll work as a transfer tool. The other end, if you don't keep your transfer tools handy, or you lose them constantly, or, you know, whatever it is. Could be anything in my workshop. I'm just working through the pieces and parts of these transfers to see what I can put on there to basically be a space filler that looks like it belongs. So that's what I'm doing there. Like, these are not like my absolute favorite themes or whatever. Somebody will like them, I'm sure. This one in particular, like I said, it's not my favorite, but like I said, somebody will love it, first of all. And second of all, like I said, I am just trying to work through my stash in some sort of creative fashion. Honestly, I thought about just putting all my rolling pins in that enamel pot and selling them as they were, but I noticed that at vintage market days, I don't see a lot of rolling pins leaving the joint. I mean, I see a lot of rolling pins, and there's one vendor in particular that I'm thinking of that always has a big wire basket full of rolling pins, but they always look like they're the same ones. So I'm not sure that that's something that sells. I think most people, honestly, are like you and me. If it's a vintage old rolling pin, they buy it to upcycle it. I'm not sure that they buy it to use it or, you know, display it in its current state. And just, you know, FYI, vintage market days is not generally the place you want to look for you know, projects to upcycle. Gonna pay a little more for them. I bought all the materials that I'm upcycling today from the bins over time. Every time they have a boatload of kitchenware, which is pretty often, they'll have all sorts of wire things in there, tins, jello molds, you name it. If it's a kitchen object, it's in one particular boat, and you can always tell when they have them because it's super clamorous and loud, and people are throwing, you know, the objects after they pick them up or whatever. So I did pick these up at the bins over time. Always grab up the wooden utensils, the rolling pins, flour sifters. I used to pass on the flour sifters, and then I started doing them, and at our last show I sold all 4 of the flour sifters I took. So now I'm very careful to always pick up the flour sifters. And it really honestly doesn't matter what condition they're in. It doesn't matter if they're shiny new, because I'm just going to paint them anyway. You can see I'm just using little pieces and parts of those transfers to stick on my wooden utensils. The one that's on the spatula there that says love, that changes over time. I end up taking that off and putting something else on there. I'm just telling you that so that when you see in the reveal it's different, you'll know why. You know, the writing on the rolling pin is one thing, but I figured that was enough, so I did come in and change that. Now I'm just adding little embellishments to the actual end pieces there. This one here is my favorite. It's very French country, which is, I've always had sort of a love affair with French country, shabby chic. I love that stuff. And this is one of those that doesn't give me any trouble at all. It just goes, and I think, again, it's metal, it's painted metal, but still, it stuck right to it, so that was good. Did not, like, you know, raise my blood pressure or anything. It just let me peel it right off. There we go. And it took a tiny little bit of the paint, but anytime you're doing a project like this, you want to keep your paint handy. I use the paint, you know, obviously to cover up any paint that peels off, but also when you're decoupaging, and you'll see in my projects that are coming up, sometimes you just need to go in with paint and sort of hide the edges that you create when you decoupage on certain surfaces. So I don't do that on camera, but I do that during the course of these projects. Again, I've added my main image, and now I'm just coming in with pieces and parts of different images so that I can create balance and some creativity there. This is my favorite set. I love this. This is very cottage core, very, you know, bringing the outside in here. These are birds on a branch, and maybe cherry blossoms. They look a little bit like cherry blossoms. Anyway, I love these images. These are from Creative Fabrica. All the images that I've used in today's projects are from Creative Fabrica, unless I say otherwise. I've told you about the awful transfers, so now you know about those, and you know not to buy them unless you're using them on metal. That would be my best course of action there. I've printed my images out on rice paper this time. I'm I'm a water slide enthusiast. I love water slide paper, but for these projects, I've really just sort of been gravitating towards rice paper. I think because it's easier. It requires fewer steps. You don't have to seal it 3 times like you do water slide paper. And I've been trying to not use a bunch of aerosols, sealants, and things like that, because it just gives me a giant headache. So I'm using thin down Mod Podge. I use a very light layer. Try to use a fan brush when I'm doing Mod Podge. That way glopping it on super heavy really isn't an option, because there's only so much a fan brush can pick up. Here I am just adding a thin layer and then Mod Podging my paper down to my rolling pin. I really love these colors too. They're very soft, and if you did a coastal theme on these, that would also be appropriate. But I'm loving the whole cottage core vibe of this particular set. You can see I've already painted my utensils, and I just tried to pick utensils that look like they belonged together, sort of the same girth and, you know, heft. If they were light, then I tried to use all lightweight ones. If they were heavier, I tried to use all heavy ones. And now I'm adding my main image to my flour sifter there. Same thing, rice paper. And like I said, I just fit as many images as I can on my rice paper, and then I work with what I've printed as much as I can. You're going to see me do the same thing I did on the last one. I add the main image, and then I come back in with little bits and parts of other images and balance it out with different areas, in different areas. So always the same thing with the Mod Podge, especially when you're working with very light paper like tissue paper or rice paper, decoupage paper that you might order from whatever source you order decoupage paper from. You always want to use a light, thin coat. And I say this all the time, it's not, the idea is not to saturate the paper and make it wet. It's really just to stick it to a surface. So there's absolutely no reason that your paper should be wet on the outside after you've Mod Podged something down. You do obviously give it a top coat, and that's again a light, thin layer. I think once I realized that, I really think that that's when you perfect whatever art it is you're working towards, when you just do the logic. Like, I'm not trying to saturate this paper, I'm trying to stick it. So when you think things through that way, it really helps your crafting make a little more sense. There we go. I really love this one. I think this one was my favorite. I ordered my rice paper from Amazon. It comes in quite a few sheets. I will say it's also less expensive than water-slide paper, so that's another plus. I do seal rice paper before I use it. I give it a spray of the matte finish Rust-Oleum sealer, and the difference is I only spray it once. With water-slide paper, you have to spray it 3 times. So it does work out to be quite a bit less expensive than water-slide paper. And I think the pack is about the same, maybe a few dollars less than water-slide paper, but you get a whole lot more sheets of it. So you're going to see me use rice paper a lot in some upcoming projects, just like I have been for these last few videos, because once I discover something, I'm all about whatever that is. Like, I'm going to use it. That's just the way I am. I have a one-track mind when it comes to just about anything. It's sort of a curse because a lot of other things may not be done or whatever, so might seem a little bit like ADHD at times. That was a little blurry, but don't worry, you'll see it. You'll see a better picture of it as we go here. And now I'm just looking for images that I can sort of take cutouts from and put on those utensils. I love that little bird family. I think it's so cute. I saw when I began to realize I had just a surplus of all these rolling pins and utensils, I started looking at Pinterest, and the more I looked, the more I thought, it would be super fun just to make some coordinating sets of all of these things that sort of all go together. So I'm hoping they'll sell that way. I'm going to offer them individually, obviously, because, some people might not want to buy the whole set, but there will be a discounted price. If they buy the whole set, it'll be cheaper than buying them each individually, is what I'm thinking I'm going to do. I don't know how that's going to all work out yet, but I have some time to figure it out, because honestly, I probably will have one more crafting session in my workshop where I work through these materials. I won't film myself because y'all have seen this now. Oh, there's that first sifter. That is so really cute. I don't think it's been sprayed with matte spray yet. And this one hasn't either, but it's going to be. I love how those turned out. I think those are just super pretty. And there are those utensils. If you have a French country enthusiast or somebody who just loves cottage core, those fit in nicely. And then there's that first one with the transfer that gave me so much trouble. For as much trouble as it gave me, I love the way it turned out. And then those are those utensils that I don't think I showed myself doing those on camera. Here I am, though, using my finger sander to remove the excess rice paper. I do come in and fix the corner of that utensil. I feel like I cut it off or something's missing, so I do come in and add something to fill in that space. And then on the fork, I just add one of those little cherry blossoms. I think that's what those are. Anyway, I really love that fork too. I think that's super pretty. I'm wondering if it came with something else. I think I have another piece that coordinates with that, but I'm not sure. I also have, and I can't wait to do these ones, and I'm going to do these ones on camera. I have some wooden ladles and some wooden handled ladles that I want to make some really cute things with. I'm thinking bird's nests and just more little cottagecore elements. My house is such a mashup of French country, cottagecore, farmhouse, all the stuff. And I really don't like to just put myself in a box where I'm only doing one of something that I love. I try to incorporate, everything that I love into my home. And sometimes it's just a matter of you can go with different themes as long as you are matching patterns or colors or, whatever it is. There's something that brings it all together. Ooh, we're blurry. Sorry about that. I missed that. Sometimes my camera just doesn't know where it's supposed to grab. I'm just adding different pieces and parts to, you can see I cut that original element down that I was working with. I cut it in half, and now I'm going to use this half there, and then I'm sure I'm going to use the other half somewhere else. But always think about that. Work from the edges in when you're doing a rolling pin or anything where you want to maybe not completely cover the whole area with graphics, but you can see you wouldn't just put this branch in the middle of your project. You would have it coming in from the edge because, that makes sense. That's the artistic eye that tells you that's the way it goes. It's always a good thing to train your artistic eye with your projects and, really think things through that way. I have cleaned my area up, messed it up, cleaned it up, messed it up several times throughout these particular projects. I had a busy week out here in my workshop and it was nice. Now I'm just propping this up so that it will dry. In my box there, I haven't opened yet. That's my promotional material for Vintage Market Days, so I should open that up. It just came in the mail that day. Hadn't made it in from my workshop yet, so I'm going to open that today and start passing those things out. There's flyers, there's posters, there's all sorts of material that I can be passing out from now until September. Super fun. Now I'm going to work on this little tiny flower sifter that I found in my open shelf that wasn't really lost at all. My eyes just hadn't fallen on it yet. I'm using this Dusty Rose pink. Listen, pink's not my favorite color, especially to decorate with, but we're talking, French country, provincial, cottagecore type stuff here. And I think that this Dusty Rose really goes with the French country theme. And again, this is Oops Paint from Home Depot. Always love to pick that up when I can find it. It takes a couple coats of that paint to cover up that metal. And this is the one where I do love the patina on the handle, and so I only paint the center of that. I don't paint the handle or the rims or the inside, because that one has just the amount of age that I'd like for it to have. And it's so little. Like, who doesn't love something little, right? Like, we all love little things. In real life, I really like this color, but only like in small, small doses. This is a color that, I would paint a room or make a main color in my stuff. But for pops of color, I can appreciate it. Using my heat gun throughout this process to keep things going. Oh, there's my blue utensils. Now I'm going to look through my ephemeral melange IOD book there to find something for this little sifter. I decided that I'm done using those transfers. I'm not going to take a chance that they're going to peel the paint off this. I'm just going to find something that goes with these colors. Again, I'm not worried about if the flowers match. Even if the theme matches, I just want the colors to match. So that's what we've come to here. Like, I'm done. I won the battle a few times and now I'm done with these transfers. Like I said, I'm only using them on metal from now on. I'm not, and like, I know that's metal. I get it, but it's painted, so not even taking my chances. Just going to use this IOD transfer because I know those are pretty fail-safe. Which today, I guess, is the launch of the IOD stuff. I'm going to have to tune in later to see what they've got and if I need any of it. I'm going to try to not need any of it is what I'm saying, but I don't know. So there's the utensils that I made. Oh, and look, I made a spoon rest for that too. Oh no, that was for that one. There you go. These are all the things I made this day in my workshop. I was a busy girl. I also make some other things that are coming up that I haven't shown you yet. So I was super busy. Like I said, I am on a mission to upcycle through my stash, get rid of all these things, sell them. Look, I have this Enamelware here, and this is something I don't show you in my reveal or in my thumbnail, but another thing I just wanted to get rid of. Put some transfers on it, wrap some twine around the handle, made a little flower arrangement right there on top, tied some bows. That was it. Like, and these will sell. Things like this always sell. People love kitchen art, and these are again things that I bought at the bins that I really have no other use for but to put artwork on. So I just found some coordinating flowers in my stash, flowers that look like they could go on the transfer there. Same type, same color. Maybe not exactly the same type, but definitely in the same color family. So I just make an arrangement that I like. I wrap the twine around the handle so that I have something to glue my flowers to. If you glue them right to metal, they're probably not going to stay forever. But if you put yourself some twine around the handle and then start gluing, that works out a lot better. I just finished this off with a burlap bow and another little lace bow, and you'll see that. I'm sure I've gone to hunt through my stash of ribbon is where I picture myself being right now. This is the kind of stuff Jennifer does. You're just going to have to get used to it. I disappear, but I always come back. And that's exactly where I was. I was looking for my burlap ribbon. Here I am, and I'm not a great bow maker, so I don't even try. I just make a bow, and I wrap the lace bow, the lace ribbon around that bow to make the middle part, because I want it to be thin. I don't want to use the big thick burlap. And then I have my bow, and then I tie my finger bow. And again, I'm sorry I haven't slowed this down so you can see how I make a finger bow, but all you have to do is Google finger bow, and some very wise person who's a better instructor than me will show you how to make a finger bow. And now I just kind of work with what I've got there. I add some more flowers. I tack things down with my hot glue. I don't like things to be all floppy and, you know, take a chance that they're going to fall off. I just want things to look very put together and very intentional. So I come back in and you'll see I add some more flowers to my arrangement, and I tack them down with hot glue as I go. Now we have this little one. This is sort of an off color. Like, these aren't normal Enamelware colors, I feel. And I had in mind to put this one away for Christmas, and I probably should have, to be honest, because I forget what the IOD transfer was called for the Christmas release, but I bought it, haven't used any of it, and some of the images would have gone perfectly on this little transferware pan, but I used this instead, and honestly it's just not my favorite. It's magnolias. It's kind of, you know, in keeping with the French country vibe, cottagecore vibe we have going on, and it's definitely kitchen art. Just not my favorite, but like I said, I am just on a mission to work through my stash, get it all done. And you'll see in a minute where this project sort of redeems itself for me anyway. But I am using some transfers to continue my picture onto the sides and bottom of this little pan. And then I come in at the very last minute and I decide I'm going to add a butterfly. with an IOD mold, and I keep these things, just a canister of these things on hand. Sometimes when I have extra time in my day, I go and just pour some molds, and that's what happened here. I grab a butterfly mold that's already painted and finished with wax, and I add it right there. And that sort of redeems the whole project for me. I'm like, you know, that really added exactly what I needed to be there. And I don't even add flowers or anything else. I am going to add a hanger to the top. But there we go. Super simple, kind of cute. And this is just one more rolling pin I put together. It doesn't have anything else to go with it. But this is an old rolling pin, and I really love the look of it. I wanted to keep the handles, the wood, and then I picked out these sunflowers from Creative Fabrica, printed them on rice paper, and now it's just going to be as simple as adding them to my rolling pin. Mod Podge, same process, fan brush. And I'm not sad at all that rolling pin is pretty distressed. That's the look that I really want this to have. I haven't necessarily finished this particular rolling pin. I do come back in at some point and add some more graphics just to take up more space and add some balance around the rolling pin. But like I said, I have an excess of these, and I can work on these as I go from now until September. But now I can say at least I made a good dent in my stash of rolling pins and wooden utensils, flower sifters. I got a good start. So now I'm motivated. I can keep going and finish all of those between now and September and October. So you want to find a place to dry your rolling pins after you've painted them. You want to suspend them between, two objects like I showed you before. What am I doing here? Oh, here I am adding wax to every one of these products. This is just clear wax. You want to wax your transfers, seal your transfers basically. And honestly, I've already sealed them with my matte finish spray, but I feel like adding wax just gives them a tactile feeling that I like. I like the softness that it adds when you handle them. They just feel different. And also, it's just one more thing to finish them and make sure they all have that uniform matte finish that we love. So that's what I've done here. I just wipe it on and then, brush it on actually, and then let it sit for a minute and then wipe off the excess. I love these projects. I think they turned out super cute. I'm glad y'all watched today. I hope y'all come back next week. I'm not sure what I have planned for next week, so obviously I don't have a plan for next week. But if you like what you saw, subscribe, like, share, comment, all the great things. Stay tuned to the very end so you can see how all these projects turned out. I appreciate you. Have a good week. Bye-bye.